No, I had to connect early because my Wi-Fi went down like so many times yesterday.
That happened to me yesterday morning when we had the presentation, and I was like freaking out.
Oh no. Yeah, our Wi-Fi crashed a few times yesterday, all because my mom was watching Netflix.
We had to like unplug our TV because it connects to our Wi-Fi because my mom was using Zoom too, and it was like crashing because so many people were pulling off it.
Yeah, my mom was like, "Well, I was just trying to watch a movie," and I was like, "I'm trying to go to school." It was really funny. Mhm. Gotta have the coffee. Mm. This is gonna start turning into like me just like rolling out of bed and flipping on the computer.
That's what I was thinking too. Exactly that.
It hasn't yet, but it's gonna get there.
Once I trust my computer more to connect to me, it probably will. Right now, I just don't trust that it's going to connect to the Zoom when I need it to.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Gosh, yesterday I got so hungry in class, so today I came prepared with applesauce and a banana.
Yeah, that's by the what? Oh yeah, by the end of neuro, I was so hungry. I could not stop thinking about eating.
In between the two classes, I ran downstairs and made a bagel. Like I gotta make it.
I just feel like my schedule is completely off. Like I know we have classes at the same time, but after having 2 weeks without classes, I feel weird.
I think that threw me off more than moving online, honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But like we needed it to move online. Molly. Hi, Molly. Oh my gosh, big congrats, fam.
Thank you. It's super exciting. Yesterday morning, I literally was like,
Abigail, you got a video. Hey. Oh, your audio's off, fam.
I fixed it. Also, Molly, congratulations. That's awesome.
thank you.
Yes, I didn't congratulate you in person, so this is the best I can do.
Yeah, that's the best anyone can do nowadays.
I like put it in the group chat and I meant to text you individually. And I was even talking to you after, like on like text you and never said it. I realized that this morning and I was gonna text you and then I got distracted by coffee.
Okay, wait. So is it possible for me to type my notes on my computer while we're on Zoom? Did anyone else do that yesterday?
I didn't. I have my old clunker that I'm videoing on, and then I'm typing on this thing.
Okay.
Because I know I'm not
like
technically apt enough to
yeah.
Out.
Because I don't know if I can like exit full screen when she puts it in the full screen and then the type on the side, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to write all of it.
Yeah.
I can't print the PowerPoint, so my mom would kill me. So.
True.
I know I saw.
Is it recording in the corner?
Yeah. Whatever. I know I saw someone who had it like a half screen that they had the Zoom and like all the little faces.
Oh, like shrink the window.
PowerPoint. I don't know how they got it though.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to like get rid of the like download thing and then like re-download the computer. And I was like, wow, this is insane. But now it works, so hopefully it continues to work.
That's good.
Yeah. How long was your
I find
guys'
it super ironic that we're going over computer, tablets, and cell phones today.
You know, I like laughed
That's
so
true.
hard when I saw that. I was like,
I
no
was
way.
like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I put deodorant on or not.
Doesn't even matter.
That's for sure.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't know. I'm downstairs. So I was like, I don't know.
You're the only one that's gonna suffer.
That's right. That's true. Oh, also, I'm thinking about asking Connie if we can have, if I or any of us can have permission to record the lectures because there's a button to it, but it says you have to ask for permission. So I was like, I'll ask and email her.
I'm sure she would click yes. You'd have to be sure she like does it at the beginning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She probably like halfway through. Oh.
Her drawings yesterday was kind of killing
Sent
me.
me.
She did not understand any of my questions I was asking. I was like, wait, let me ask it again. And I was like, not trying to be mean because like we're all trying to like figure it out. But I was like, if we move on and I don't understand, I'm never going to understand what you're saying. And then Jess finally was like, look at this, what I wrote. And I was like, oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, Molly, I looked up and you were coming out of the door and I was shook. I looked up and I thought you were still there, but you were coming out of the door and I was like,
Oh. No, Megan moved into Katie's room. So
I was gonna say, like, one of these days Megan's just gonna come in and I'm not gonna know.
Yeah, she was
Are you still
talking
at your
about how she's just gonna like, I'm gonna leave and she's gonna come and sit or something. That was funny.
Becca.
Hello.
Hey.
Oh. Are you on your phone today, Becca?
Yes. How do I?
I can tell.
That sounded so
It's all
sad.
small. Weird. Oh, by the way, everyone who had their the second presentation in professional yesterday, I loved it. It was very good. And the Kahoot was fun.
Yeah, it was.
We can't hear you, Alina. You're still muted.
I got it. Okay. I said yours was good too.
Oh my gosh, guys, my Google thing started going off in class yesterday, which is why I just started typing things because it just kept speaking and I couldn't make it stop. So I was like gonna just like speak questions because I feel like that's easier, but I was like, I can't because it's talking in the background. So that was awkward. It was like
How's everyone's
freaking out. I couldn't
breakfast?
speak. Okay, and Alicia. Yes, Alicia. Getting that protein.
Becca, what are you eating?
Peanut butter Captain Crunch.
Oh, we love that.
Wow.
Mhm.
Alicia, what are you eating?
Good morning, beautiful people.
Now I'm unmuted. I'm unmuted now.
No, Alicia,
My
you're
professor isn't here yet.
you're muted.
Good morning.
Wait, I'm not
Cookies
muted
yesterday.
now.
No, you were muted
Wait.
before though when you went to say something.
Yeah, my dad kept talking. I'm eating scrambled eggs
I had
and
scrambled eggs.
raspberries.
Ooh.
I had scrambled eggs and ham for
That's alright.
breakfast.
Mmm, nutritious.
Guys,
There
I'm
you
not
go.
gonna
Now I'm
get
eating
hungry again
cookies.
like last time and just make a
Cookies?
big.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have enough time to eat that amount of food. I just had like a quick bowl.
Yes, I really want you to have Cheetos in the middle of one of these classes.
No,
She was
Jessica.
eating barbecue or hot wings yesterday, and she was like, "I have to turn off the camera," and I was licking my fingers.
Yeah, I turned off the camera when I licked my fingers because I didn't want to put on a show for everyone.
It's either Cheetos or Cheez-Its.
They were hot buffalo pretzels.
It's not a real
Wow,
class. of
really
Jess, it's
switching it up.
Cheez-Its.
Ew.
Jess, where's the Oreos?
Yes, we expected Cheetos.
I know. I really dropped the ball.
Yeah, you did.
So I was supposed to live off campus, and then the girl backed out on me literally last night. So now I'm living on campus again. So I'm glad it's over with. No more stress.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, Mackenzie!
What's her name? I just want to talk.
Whoa.
Made it.
Yesterday, who was it? Dr.
Hey
P was like,
guys.
who's missing?
We
Yeah,
got
Wait,
it.
say that again.
Online class.
Yeah, I was in
Kitty.
bed until 8:41.
It says you have low bandwidth.
Oh, wait. Where?
It said she had low bandwidth.
Not on my screen.
No, I'm saying I'm not here either.
What is low bandwidth?
Means your internet
Your
sucks.
Wi-Fi sucks.
Kelly.
Oh,
Oh my god. Yeah, her
Is it better
icon's kinda
now?
funny.
I don't know.
Sound better.
oh, okay, good.
That's encouraging.
Oh, Alicia,
Lola.
your cat.
Lola. Oh my god. At the end, she like got up
Aw.
on my lap in neuro and was just like sitting on my lap. And I was
Aw.
like, okay. Like I had to like reach over her to type. And then at the end of class, I was like, Dr. Chow, do you want to see my cat? And she was like, yes. And I like put the camera down and then she bit me right on camera and then like ran away. I'm like, wow, that's a good sign of our relationship.
Yesterday when she was yelling, Missy, get down, I was laughing so hard.
A ringtone
Abby, you have
set
a
me
video
too.
now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, how'd you fix
Last
that?
night.
Oh, look at the kitty.
How did you fix it?
Thanks, Becca.
I just like deleted it and downloaded like the camera app again. But disclaimer, I'm only saying because I did yesterday, but no one knew that because you didn't see me. So
It's good you figured it out.
The kitties. Oh, no, it's just cereal, Molly.
Yeah, I'm like, Becca, are you just gonna give us a tour of everything you're doing? Like,
I can if you want to.
Please do.
Hi, Jenna.
Oh.
Hi, Christiana.
Hi, Beck.
if none of you noticed, she's already recording this class, so she's gonna have all of our shenanigans on recording already.
Dr. Cool.
honestly, it's nothing different from normal.
So
No
So,
swearing.
I'm gonna submit us to like some psych study.
No swearing. Be quiet.
Perceived stress of OT students before class.
let me mute myself and
The
then
amount of dumb crap I've said in front of professors.
No one wants to hear you, Molly.
Kelly, your Snapchat was so funny.
Hey, what Snapchat?
It's in the group.
I just thought she was smiling at us the whole time.
Oh, wait, Kelly, you sent that? That's funny.
Honestly, Kelly, I thought that too for a second. I was like, oh.
Kelly, go look in the group chat. Did you see it?
Oh no.
I was doing different backgrounds
Speaking me right down.
for class. They were at the beach.
Aw.
Taking submissions for what comes next.
Wait, what is that, Jenna?
oh my
Hi,
gosh.
Oh, it's the
everybody.
beach.
Hello.
Oh, it's a puppy.
How's
Look
it
at
going?
the funky backgrounds.
I know. I've been having fun playing with Zoom and figuring out some fun stuff to do because, you know, we all need a little bit of fun right now.
It's the background. Oh my
How's
gosh, it's
everybody
a dog.
doing? It was really fun listening to you guys kind of catch up. I had my camera off and was walking around my house, but I could hear you talking to each other and catching up. So that's so fun. You guys didn't keep your microphones on. I was just nervous about microphones and feedback and stuff, but I did a class yesterday and we had microphones on and off and everything was fine. So we were good. So one bright spot of teaching from home is I get to have Luke with me every class, every time. So I'm excited about that. So he'll pop up once in a while. But really, he's really just going to sleep next to me the whole time and keep me warm. So I'm very excited that I changed out of my pajamas for you guys today. And I put a little makeup on and brushed my hair and all that kind of stuff. So that was a big thing for me to do. I just wanted to take the first couple minutes and sort of go through some Zoom stuff. I think you guys probably had some classes yesterday on Zoom. I did this with the seniors yesterday because I had them first. But you can, like, one of the fun things is you can change your background. So if you go to your toolbar at the bottom and there's an icon there that says stop video, and there's a little up arrow. If you click on that and then click choose virtual background, you can go in and change your background. So Zoom has some backgrounds that they have there for you to use, but you can go online and find all kinds of backgrounds. So I'm going to try to have a new background every day just to shake things up. And y'all know that, well, maybe you know, but Up is like one of my favorite movies of all time. I actually watched it last night. So that's why I have that one. And look, Kristen's at the beach. Kristen, how did you get to the beach? That's awesome. So the other thing I wanted to tell you guys is that, and you may or may not know this, but you have a Zoom Pro account as well, which means that you can have longer than 40-minute meetings with multiple people. So if there is group academic work that you need to do, you can use your Zoom accounts to do that kind of stuff. That was the purpose of NAS getting those accounts for you. But, honestly, just take advantage of it if you want to meet online just socially, together and have a little online social party, or, meet with your family using Zoom or whatever. Take advantage of what you have. But again, it is for you to be able to do group work going forward. So one thing, so for today for class, my plan is I just wanted to go over the changes again really quickly with you guys that are upcoming and see if anybody has any questions going forward. I know if you haven't had a chance, I posted in the forum last night sort of my perspective going forward in this crazy situation that we're all in. The biggest thing is, who knows what's going to happen, right? To be honest with you. So, just being flexible and adaptable, like in the middle of my class with the seniors yesterday and Moodle crashed. Yay, that was so fun, but we figured it out and whatever. We'll get through it together. So I guess at this point, I just wanted to, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask right now about any of the assignments or the changes or labs or, anything that, anything that's coming up?
I just have a quick question about the community assignment. Are we still gonna, depending on how long this goes, do we have a plan for that? Are we still doing that? Like what's
Yeah, so the community assignment has changed. So that has changed to a virtual assignment. So at this point, we are just assuming that we're going to be, sort of doing this alternative online situation till the end of the semester. And knowing, some of you are probably maybe not in Rochester, maybe you went home, you're not that close. And in the current situation, I really can't ask you guys to go in the community and do a project like that. So if you take a look at the grading rubric, it has changed to a virtual assignment. So if you can find a recreation center online that also has a virtual tour. So there are a bunch of recreation centers, and it doesn't have to be in Rochester, anywhere in the country. If you can find a recreation center online that includes a virtual tour on their website. So you'll be doing more of a online web-based inclusivity assessment. So, and I have some specifics on the rubric for, you'll be using the inclusivity assessment. You'll be completing part A, which is sort of just the information about the, like the name and the address and all that kind of stuff for the place. Part B, which is the physical assessment. And basically what I said about that is, obviously, when you're doing a virtual assessment, you can't really do measurements. Like, you're not going to take out the tape measure and the clinometer and stuff like that. That's not going to work. But, based on what you can see in the virtual tour, try to make some assumptions about the physical inclusivity, right? Can you see the registration desk, and does it have a open approach? Does it start in the parking lot, and can you see that there are accessible parking spaces, or do the doors look like they're wide enough for wheelchair users and things like that? So just making some of those assumptions. Or if you come across something when you're going through the virtual tour that looks like it is a barrier for physical inclusivity. Again, this is one of those assignments and things that I'll be sort of flexible about. Like I said, I know you're making assumptions about these things. I will be going through, checking out the website and going through the tour before I grade what you do and what you say, just to get an idea of what you were able to see. Part C is talking about the social inclusion piece of it.
Sorry,
so that,
can I
yep, go ahead.
Back to just the last point. We're just totally ignoring the ones we were assigned, and we can just, it's
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you
So
want us to do that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do you want us to do that individually then, or is that still in our groups that you assigned?
Yeah. So it's going to be an individual assignment then. And yeah. So yeah, we can't sort of go to those places and those parks at this point. I just just talking to the college and the administration about community-based assignments, and they said at this point we can't ask students to do anything in the community. So
does it have to be a park, or can it be kind of like a welcome center or somewhere like that people use a lot?
Yeah, like a rec center or welcome center. Yeah, something like that. I think the biggest thing it would be if it's something for people's recreation activities, like community-based recreation, and that it has a virtual tour, so you can at least see the physical layout of it. So you can do that.
I'm guessing now we're only doing one instead of like a couple per group.
Yes. Yep. So we just do one.
What about museums too?
Sure. Sounds good. Yeah, museums is a good idea.
I know there's a couple like amusement parks that also have virtual tours. Is that something we could do?
Yeah, amusement parks sound good. Okay. Cool. So I think at this point I'm gonna does anybody have questions about any of the changes on the Moodle page? Let me just pull up that Moodle page. So I did put a link on there for the Zoom meetings. Let me just share the screen here. There we go. Oh, not that one. There are too many screens pulled up. There we go. So here on the 318 Moodle page, there's a link to the Zoom meetings. So you can access the Zoom meetings all in one place. That being said, Moodle sort of crashed yesterday and people are having issues getting to the link that's on the Moodle page. So I think, at least for the next week or so, I'll also send you an email with a link just in case something happens with Moodle and you can't get to the link there. You have another way to go through it. Oops, I got out of there. There's also this course announcements link here. This is where I've been sending you sort of all the updates. So if you, instead of going through your email and trying to find what I sent to you, you can go to this forum and find, this one is the video that I initially sent. This is about the Zoom meetings. That's one they sent yesterday. So if you're trying to find something that I sent you before, I'll put, as much of what I can going forward in this forum. So there's one place for you to go back and find that. I think those were the biggest things I wanted to show you on Moodle. Let me just double check. Yeah. Today for lab and Thursday for lab, we are going to be going through on Zoom computer accessibility. So that's what these two links are for. This is information if you have Microsoft or if you have a Mac, where to and how to find the accessibility features on the computer. So those are for lab this week.
Is there a different link for the Zoom lab thing?
Yes. So let me go back up to the links. So here's the Zoom lab link for today, for those of you that are in lab for today, and then here's the Zoom lab for Thursday. So I'll label them, whether it's the class and what the date is, or the lab and what the date is. Please just let me know ahead of time. I will assume that everybody is going to their regular lab time. And at this point, I have all the labs. There's no like combined lab, right? We'll just do Tuesday, Thursday lab. But if you do need to switch labs, if something comes up in your life and you need to switch labs, just let me know ahead of time, because I do, for some of the labs, I'm pre-assigning you to like breakout rooms and things like that. So just sort of need to know who's going to be in the lab in order to do that for smaller discussions and such. So we talked about the inclusivity assessment assignment, but go ahead and take a look at that grading rubric and see if you have any questions. The dates have changed for some of the research article assignments because I changed up, because we missed a week, so I sort of had to change up the schedule of the classes. So please make sure you take a look at the dates for those of you that still have the research review to do. Make sure and take a look at that and see if your date has changed. We will do those on Zoom, like during class time, like we would just do like regular class time. And whichever students are presenting, one of you can share your screen for the PowerPoint, and then you both can present on Zoom. And then the other thing was the adaptive equipment prototype. That was the final sort of lab assignment that we were going to do. As I said on the video, obviously we can't sort of go to the maker space, do the 3D stuff, which is kind of disappointing, but I will be, probably next week, I will be mailing out splinting material to all of you, orthoplast splinting material. You all get sort of, I'm going to try to cut close to all the same size and what I can fit in the envelopes that I was able to grab before I left campus for all of you. And I will post on Moodle instructions on how to warm up the splinting material and how to mold it. And you can, sort of work on creating a piece of adaptive equipment that would work with the size of the splinting material that I'm sending you. So it would have to be something, I'm thinking, something's probably going to be like, I don't know, 6 by 6 inches, maybe 10 inches is probably the longest, by 4 to 5 inches or something like that. So thinking about a piece of adaptive equipment that you can make with that size of splinting material. And the final lab will all come on Zoom, and you can either, pull up some pictures of the adaptive equipment and, how it works, like you using it. Or you can demonstrate it right online in the video, and we'll just have discussions about the equipment that you made. And it's really, again, these lab assignments are for your experience, right? So when we do, I like to do this lab at the end, because the lecture gets very high tech, right? So we get really into a lot of high tech stuff. We talk about computers and technology and eye scanning and a lot of really cool stuff that's out there. But I like to bring it back at the end to the really low tech stuff that we spend probably in most settings the majority of our time. I can't tell you how many things I've made out of splinting material or how often I've used splinting material to adapt something for somebody. So it's just a material that's really readily available to OTs in most settings, and it's used very often to adapt and change things because it's really easy to do. So I'd just like to bring it back down to that. So again, it's just an experience. I mean, if your thing comes out not the way you want it to come out and you only have limited amount of splinting material, I totally understand. It's really just going through the experience and how to use splinting material to adapt something.
So we're not making splints, we're just making like a prototype for something similar to a splint?
Yes, you're not making splints. That'll be next year in ortho with Stocklosa. So it would be, so let's say you have a client, and part of the assignment is to then just, create some details about the client, like a fictional client that this adaptive equipment is for. So let's say you have a client who, is an older person who had a stroke and they lost the use of one of their hands, and one of their favorite leisure activities is playing cards with their grandkids, and they can't hold the cards. Can you make a card holder out of the adaptive equipment? And that would be something that you could do with that size of adaptive equipment. It's pretty easy to make. Like card holders, or people have made cup holders that sits on the side of a chair. People have made book holders. People have made cell phone holders. People have made like long handled, made a comb or a brush. You can use a splinting material to make it longer because, their client couldn't reach all the way to the top of their head. Get creative. There's lots of, even if you just sort of Google homemade adaptive equipment and things like that, you can find a lot of examples out there. It's actually kind of fun to play around with the splinting material, and you will need scissors to cut the splinting material. If you have scissors, it'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking what I'll probably do is I have extra. I grabbed all kinds of stuff, guys, before I left. So I have extra splinting material. So I'm thinking in my head, I'll probably make a video of me doing one, and just showing you guys how to do it, because that's what I would have done in lab, is show you how to do it quickly. So I'll probably post a video of that. Any questions on the that lab assignment?
Besides using the splinting material, can we use like other stuff we just have around our house, like if it's normal?
Sure. Yeah, and that would really be the idea, right? So the idea is sort of using readily available materials to adapt something for a client, to make it easier for them to use it. And that's really, again, when we get back to sort of that low tech adaptive equipment or low tech assistive technology, it's really what it comes down to in OT practice, is using, again, going back to, often the simplest way to adapt something or change something for somebody is usually the easiest way and the best way for them. So using cheaper materials, using more simple materials, using things that are more readily available to you and to them. So yeah, if there's things that you have around the house, if you have Velcro around the house, or if you have, Velcro is something that's often used, or if you're good at sewing or good at, whatever else, foam, things like that, that'd be awesome. Again, it's just the experience of being creative with the materials that you have.
Can we go online and look up like for some ideas, but not like copy them, if you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay, I think that's everything that I have on my list to tell you about. Oh, there is still the quiz number 2, April 14th. It'll be just like quiz number 1, 10 question, 10 multiple choice question quiz. It'll open up, I'm not sure, open up like on the 14th. It'll be open for like 5 days. Open book, open note kind of quiz, just like it was before. That's the other one. So that one really hasn't changed. That's online, asynchronous, when you have a chance to do it. Okay, are we good? All right, awesome. Okay, guys, so today we are going to just talk about and go through the lecture for accessibility for computers and telecommunication information. So I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint and share the screen with you guys. It is posted on Moodle. What I did find yesterday is when I pull up the PowerPoint and share the screen with you, I can't really see the chat room anymore. If you're going to use the chat room to like click on the raise your hand, or if you're going to type the question in the chat room. So I will just stop periodically and ask if you guys have questions. And again, feel free to just unmute and ask your question. I also will try to be interactive like we would be in class and ask you guys questions as we're going along, and your thoughts, and try to stimulate some discussions as we go forward. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up the PowerPoint. Let me start at the beginning of it. Oh, and I should have said too that this, I'm recording all the lectures. And yes, I heard somebody saying about it being recorded, and yes, it records as soon as I open the meeting, and I open the meeting early so everybody has time to whenever they want to get on. But I will post a YouTube link to the recordings of the lectures, and this is just in case somebody's Wi-Fi isn't working and they miss part of it, or if they get kicked off and they're having trouble getting back on. So then we'll have access to the lecture if you're having issues with your technology. Okay, so that got really weird. What just happened? Well, okay, we'll go with that. Okay, so let's talk about computers and tablets. Does everybody see the PowerPoint okay? Are we good? Okay. It just pulled up really weird, like it doesn't usually pull up. So anyway, okay. So first thing to talk about, of course, is there is all legislation, and there are laws in place about access to electronic information. It's very similar to the legislation that we talked about that's in place for access to community access and building access and housing access. That's the U.S. Telecommunications Act of 1996, Section 255, that access to standard electronic and information technology is necessary for opportunities in education and employment. And when that technology is designed, it should be designed to be accessible to individuals with a broad range of disabilities. So thinking when manufacturers are creating electronic information, that they really need to try their best, right? When it's readily achievable, to provide products that are accessible to people of different ranges of abilities. Yep, so I just said that. But again, it's that language, right? So remember that language when we talked about the physical accessibility of like buildings and communities, if it's readily achievable or if it's reasonable to be able to do. And that's sort of that's the language where things can get a little bit gray. So in Section 255, this includes telephones, wireless handsets, fax machines, answering machines, pagers when we used to use them. We still use pagers at the hospital, so they do still exist out there. And for the home or office use, it includes computers, So that readily achievable standard, again, requires companies to incorporate access that are easily accomplishable without much difficulty or expense to the company. Okay, so again, thinking about the budget that a company has, if it's a large company that has great resources like Apple, right, will need to do more to achieve access than companies that have smaller budgets, right? So some like a family-owned business or something like that. So this is an important concept of the Telecommunications Act, and again, it's very similar to the physical access in the community and buildings and housings, is where access in an electronic way is not readily achievable, that then manufacturers and service providers must make their devices compatible with peripheral devices and specialized computer equipment, right? So so then, you know, the person that, you know, needs to access that information in an alternate way has a peripheral device to use to access that information. So this will be one of the questions. So who, you know, what would be a peripheral device that you can think of? Is there any peripheral device that you use to access your computer, to access your phone, anything like that? Something, a peripheral device meaning something that you use other than your phone, other than your computer, to access the information on there. And I have to look through the cameras because some of you might be using one right now. What do you guys think? Anybody think of any? Oh, I see Emily is using a peripheral device to access her computer right now.
Maybe like headphones.
Yes, Emily's got her headphones on, right? So that is a peripheral device. So Emily's using it for whatever reason that she's using it, but somebody who maybe has some hearing loss, right, would need to use headphones, and especially the in-the-ear bud headphones gives you, you know, clearer audio information. Or there's noise canceling headphones, which cancels the noise, background noise, and amplifies the noise in the headphones, right? So that would be considered a peripheral device for somebody that has hearing issues. Other peripheral devices obviously would be switches, right? So computers and phones, even your iPhone has switch access, your iPad has switch access. And, you know, we did see a video, a couple of videos of where, when we were looking at the switch access of somebody that was using a switch to access an iPhone, or I'm sorry, an iPad.
Would
Go ahead, Jen.
stylus also be like a different form?
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Would a stylus be another one?
Sure. Yep, absolutely. So a stylus, which I see Becca's using a stylus right now, and she's using it for the reasons that she uses it. But yes, for somebody who maybe needs that type of access. How about you, Jen? I see you have your hand raised. Oh, you're muted.
Would a second monitor be a peripheral device, or would you consider that just part of the device itself?
It's definitely a peripheral device. And again, you know, sometimes people use a second monitor just, you know, like I know that one of the senior OTs at the hospital has 2 monitors, but he uses it because he has to access a lot of different information. But if somebody is using it, you know, for a reason, like maybe they have a second monitor that's larger, right, and that you know, makes the visual information on there larger and easier to see, or maybe they do need it to be spread out for them to be able to filter through the visual information that they're seeing on their computer monitor. Yeah, yep, absolutely. Good examples. So the Public Law 508 was added in 1998, and this had more to do with, you know, as electronic technology became more advanced, right? So it added software applications, web-based information, video and multimedia products, even included kiosks, calculators, fax machines, computers, all of that stuff. So this really just sort of is an addition to expanding technology out there that they really need to do the best that they can to make sure that their information is accessible to all people of all different abilities. So when you are like so, just think about that, like with your inclusivity assessment assignment, when you're looking at the web page of, whatever place that you're assessing, how accessible is it for people of varying abilities? Think about, the visual information that's on there. Think about if there's any auditory information, right? Think about how easy it is or intuitive it is to find what you're looking for on that web page. All of those things are important for inclusivity. So this is just speaking a little bit to, sort of the importance of why we want and why companies out there would want to, put this much focus and this much work into accessibility features. So this is just a quote from the CEO of Apple, and I know I've said before, I have a lot of complaints about Apple customer service. Not a fan of Apple customer service, but Apple accessibility features are top notch. They have the most accessible features in iOS than any other software technology out there. Google is pretty close too. But so in this quote, Tim Cook talks about the importance of going to the lengths that they go to make their products accessible to all different types of abilities. But in reality, right, and this goes back to that sort of universal idea that it also makes it easier for everybody else to be able to use it, right? So it really, expands their customer base, right? And it expands, how many people out there can use their products. So then they can sell their products to more people. So, a lot of technology, especially the big technology companies, are very focused on their accessibility features. I'm currently on a Google technology user tester team. So Google has a lot of different accessibility tester teams. So they have a tester team of individuals that have visual issues. They have a tester team of individuals that have hearing issues. They have a tester team of individuals that have speech issues. They have a tester team of individuals that have motor and physical issues. And then they have a tester team, which this is the team that I'm on, of caregivers of individuals that have disabilities and professionals that work with individuals that have disabilities. So they send out products and have us test the products. And from our perspective, we give feedback about the accessibility features, back to the engineers. So, and Apple, and Android and all those, larger software companies do spend a lot of time and a lot of money working on the accessibility of their products, because again, it really expands who can use their products and who they can sell their products to. So here's just some of the things that we think about. I go back to this a lot, even in this on this tester team when I get something to test for Google. How easy it is to use, how effective is it, portable, durable, compatible. Do they provide loaners for trial, which is really important for people? What is the cost benefit? How comfortable is it to use? But from an OT perspective, right, these are things that we would be assessing and things that we would be thinking about when we're working with a client and we're considering accessibility features and accessible technology. So We're going to do in lab this week. As I said, we're going to, in the Zoom, I have you guys split up into some breakout rooms. And we'll go through some of the accessibility features depending on if you have Windows or depending on if you have Mac. And I did pull up on here to show you. So Windows 10, and I'm sure, and I know Mac has this too, has a speech recognition tool built into the computer. So I downloaded it myself. This YouTube video you can watch on your own shows you how to do it for Windows 10. But I downloaded it myself. So I'm just going to show you how that works. I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint for a minute. And I'm just going to pull up a blank, like a Microsoft Word blank page. If I can here. Yeah, there it is. And share. And you probably can't see, I don't know, can you see them when I share my screen? Can you see the little microphone at the top of the screen? Does anybody see that? No, I don't think it would share that because it's sharing the Microsoft Word screen. So the speech recognition, when I downloaded it, there's this, it looks like the little microphone that you have on your keyboard for your phone when you open like a text and your keyboard opens, there's a little microphone on there for dictation. It looks like that. And then it has like a little open text bar. So I'm going to turn my speech recognition on. And then I'm going to say something for it to type on to the word page. Can you all see the word page, the blank word page? Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on. Hello. Hello. No, it's not going to work. Oh, I did this morning. I think because
do you have to press on the page so that you have your cursor there before you start talking to it? Because right now there's no, yeah.
Yeah, okay, let me try that. Hello, oh, here it goes. Hello. I am using my voice to type on my paper. To type on my paper. Type on my paper. Period. Okay. So that's how it works. So it's not perfect. And it's the first time really that I'm using it for this morning. You do go through a setup where you dictate to your microphone and it listens to sort of learn your speech and how you talk. But the more that you use a speech recognition system, the more it learns how you talk and how you say your words, and the better that it gets at it. But that's just a demonstration of the speech recognition on Windows 10. Let's see. See if I can pull this back up. Okay. So, and the next couple slides on here just shows you, the word commands that you can give the speech recognition program on Windows 10. And there's lots of, I just showed you how it does the typing, but you can tell it to, open a document, open the recycle bin, double click on the, a file, all kinds of different things that you can tell it to do. So down on this slide here, this is the Windows mouse grid. So that is also in the speech recognition, within the speech recognition program. So I'm just going to show you that. Let's see if I can show you that on my computer. I'll pull up that Word document again. Mouse grid. Can you see the mouse grid that came up? Do you guys see like a grid on the screen that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at all?
Not anymore. It was there for a split second.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it would show you the mouse grid, but that's how you turn it on. You just tell the speech recognition software to pull up the mouse grid, and this is what it looks like, right? So it puts a large grid over your whole page, and then you tell the speech recognition software, move cursor to number 1 or move cursor to number 5, and then you say click on number 5. So then you can use the mouse to move, or I'm sorry, use your voice to move the mouse around, the cursor of the mouse, and then click on different things. So that's how that works. We've talked a little bit about, let me see, share the PowerPoint again.
I just have a question about the mouse grid.
Sure.
Because the grid is, the different sections are so big, how would they specifically click on like one small thing on a screen?
Yeah.
Does it go into another grid like once you click on it?
Let's see. It doesn't have it on here that I have for the directions on here for the mouse grid, but there must be a direction that you give that moves it in smaller increments. Probably something like, move, more to the right, move to the left, until you get to the, specifically what you wanted to click on. Because when you do move when you say like go to number 1, it goes to the center of the square. Yeah, so it must be that there's some command that, which I didn't pull up on here, but that moves it into smaller increments, I would say. Okay. Oops. Yeah, so fun. Let me try this again. Okay. That's mouse grid stuff. We talked about dragon speech before. It's one of the most popular speech recognition software systems that you can use. A reason to use something like Dragon Speech, sort of outside of the speech recognition that you already have on your computer, is that it's just more complex and there's more things that you can do with Dragon Speech. And it does work better with users with different levels of intelligibility or pronunciation issues versus the dictation that you have on your computer. But of course, as you can see, there's a lot of challenges to using speech recognition if somebody has poor intelligibility in their voice. If somebody has a soft voice, right, you really need to be able to speak loud and you need to be able to speak, enunciate pretty clearly. Or if they have limited breath support, it's not going to work very well. If their speech production is inconsistent, they might need to put a headset on. There might be background noise happening. Like, these are all the things that you have to think about when you are considering speech recognition for your client. And there are privacy and confidentiality issues when you're talking about speech recognition. So this is somewhere where I would talk about there's privacy and confidentiality issues for the client or patient that's using it. So let's say somebody's at work and they want to return to work, or they need, you're considering speech recognition for them to be able to do their work tasks. It is important to consider what work it is that they're doing, because when you're speaking aloud in an office with other people, if other people are around, right? So what is it that they're speaking about? What are they talking about? So, let's say this is somebody who is an occupational therapist, right? That needs, thinks that they, might benefit from using speech recognition to dictate their notes. Well, that's private health information, right? So you have to be very careful of where you would be dictating, right? You know, doctors that dictate their notes have to be very careful of where they are and what they're dictating and what they are saying, and if they're using names and if they're using identifiers. So this is just an important thing to think about for yourself, you know, as you go forward in your careers, about, you know, using dictation, or if you are working with a client that is thinking about using speech recognition or dictation, and having an understanding of what it is that they do for their job, and is there any privacy or confidentiality issues in using speech recognition. Another example would be somebody who's a lawyer or paralegal, right, that has access to private information for their clients. So here's some people that, you know, obviously speech recognition and speech output would be important for people who are blind, people who need augmentative communication, individuals with cognitive disabilities. I am going to pull up a couple of videos here to listen to. Let me see. Because there are different types of speech output. You know, there's sort of that synthetic speech output. Sorry, don't go yet. There is some speech output where you can, you know, pick a voice that is more similar to the individual and what they might, you know, sound closer like a child's voice or a female voice or a male voice. You know, if you go through your phone, Siri has lots of different voices and even lots of different type of accents that you could choose. Here we go. So this is an example of I'm just gonna, I have to change something here for the video. There we go. This is an example of more of that sort of synthetic robotic voice.
My spaces.
You guys hear it okay?
Word spaces.
90, 10.
Actions.
95, 10.
Sabrina.
Eat. My spaces. My food and drinks. Lunch. Spaghetti.
You wanna tell everybody what Caleb eats?
Okay. Were you guys able to hear the video okay? Okay, so that's an example of sort of synthetic speech. You know, it's really not matched to the child that's using it. And there's various reasons why people, you know, have synthetic speech and not. It does cost more if you are using speech output that is more tailored and software that does that for you. So sometimes it's financial, or sometimes people don't really care that much. It's fine. So they don't want to have to do it. That video is also a really good example of how long it can take for somebody to use speech output or like augmentative communication, right? So what he said in that video was, Max, eat spaghetti. And the question I think his mom or whoever it was asked him is, what do you eat for lunch, right? But that was a good, you know, it was over a minute before he, you know, got those 3 words out. So depending on your client's ability and their levels, it definitely takes longer, right? And there's a lot more sort of waiting time when somebody is using speech output or using augmentative communication. The next one I'm going to pull up just shows a a voice that's a little more tailored towards the individual. This is a young girl. And also in this video, which is interesting, which I want to point out, that the caregivers, I think it's the teacher and maybe the mom in the video, they're talking about the major change in Rosie's behavior when she was able to communicate with augmentative communication. So just pay attention to that when they talk about the major difference that allowing Ruby to be able to communicate made in her behavior.
Good girl.
Weighed 356 grams, so she would fit in the palms of my hands. And her hand just covered my little fingernail.
I first met Ruby 2 years ago when she started school, very much in her own bubble. She was the youngest premature baby in England. She was described to me as a very challenging case.
I want computer, please. Mrs. Green.
Good girl. Since Ruby has had the iPad, her behaviour has improved 95%. I would be getting hit 20, 30 times a day. Where now is I've worked all day today and she doesn't hit me at all. The iPad and the software is allowing her to unlock her communication and communicate with me. And on a daily basis, she absolutely amazes me. It's your turn. No, it's
Won't be my
we haven't
turn.
got Sophie on here yet, have we? You ready? Yep. What we've just done for the first time is got Ruby and Sophie to share using My Turn. So they're learning to use the computer and share toys. Ruby's not very good at sharing currently at the moment. And 4 weeks ago, she would have turned around and poked the child.
She is so into technology. We've got iPhones and she just plays on those and works out how to do things. You know, she doesn't need a lot of guidance. And as soon as she was given the iPad, she was able to use it straight away.
What do you want?
I was expecting 2. 4. Please. Remember? Mrs. Green. Yeah, great.
Good girl. Casey's turn.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So, it's just a very good perspective when they're talking about, sort of people's behaviors, especially, kids, and, if you are experiencing some behavioral issues with somebody, your very first thought should be, is it a communication issue, especially if it's because somebody like Rosie that can't verbally communicate. But once she did have that speech output or that augmentative communication, like her mom and her teacher said, there was so much that was going on in her mind and her brain, and she really did know what was happening around her, and she really, could do these things. She just needed a way to communicate it. So any questions about speech output at this point? Let me see. I have to go to the other page. There's 2 pages of you. Okay. Let me see. So the next slide has a couple of some more videos that you guys can, watch on your own if you're interested in more of the speech synthesis and, how that is done for speech output. But we'll go and talk a little bit about, and we'll end talking about phones and tablets. So the computer accessibility we'll do in lab this week. We did, luckily, this may have been fortuitous, but we did already go through our phones and the accessibility features when we were in class a couple of weeks ago. But just a reminder, because this was actually the lecture that I was going to do it in, but I decided to do it in that class. I'm glad I did. Just as a reminder, on your phones, when you go to the accessibility features, there are visual accessibility features. We did in class, we did do the voiceover. Remember, that's the one that reads everything that's on the screen or everything that you click on. And then you need to double tap to select something. There's a Braille, remember there's a Braille keyboard, and that it is compatible to devices that have refreshable Braille displays. You can change the rate and the pitch of the voice. Siri is a fantastic accessibility tool for individuals that have different abilities, right? So you can tell Siri, lots of different things that you can do. There's one example. We have a client that we've worked with for many years in clinic who has a high-level spinal cord injury, and he really has only very little use of one arm. And really just sort of head movements, very similar to Brian. I think you guys have met Brian. And once iOS or Apple changed their your access to Siri, where you could turn it on and just say, "Hello, Siri," and then Siri would open up. He now has full access to using his phone. I shouldn't say full, but he has full access to using the features on his phone that he wants to use that he didn't have before. Because before that, he would have to at least have his aide, sort of hold the home button down to open Siri. But now he can just say, "Hello, Siri," and he can easily access the things that he needs, like text messages and phone calls and FaceTime and things like that. Did you have a question, Jenna? Where's Jenna? No? Okay. The problem is I can't see you guys when I share the PowerPoint, so, okay. Also, you probably know, and like I said, you have if you open a text message and you open your keyboard, there's a little microphone on your keyboard so you can dictate emails and text messages and things like that when you're using your keyboard on your phone. And I think I told you before that there are other keyboards that you can download through apps for your iPhone. And I showed you guys a keyboard that I had downloaded for a gentleman who was in the hospital who I think he had gotten hit by a car is what happened, and he was having a lot of visual issues, and all he wanted to do was be able to text his family and his friends who lived out of town, because all of his family lived out of town. So I downloaded that keyboard that was for him, that the keys were bigger and the letters were much bolder, and the contrast between the background and the letters was much much brighter, much easier for him to see, and then he was able to access that keyboard and do the texting that he wanted to do. We went through and we saw the zoom feature, and we talked about how you can increase the font, you can change the color and the contrast of the background, you can go to a black and white color on your phone if somebody wants to, or a grayscale, so it takes out the colors, or you can go to a black background where the lettering is white, or a white background where the letters are black. Depending on your client's visual needs, will depend on what background or what contrast and color adjustments will be useful for them. Individuals that have hearing issues, right? FaceTime, and I think we talked about this a little bit already, but FaceTime technology is, really replaced sort of that, individuals with hearing issues used to have to use special devices in order to talk to somebody on the phone. There were devices where they would, sort of type their messages and somebody else would read it to them, or there were devices where they would there would be an interpreter in between. So they would talk to the interpreter on the phone, or, you know, text the interpreter on the phone, and that interpreter would say to the person that they were talking to what was said. Now with FaceTime, individuals with hearing issues can FaceTime each other, and they can use ASL and they can use sign language. You can put closed captions on videos on your phone. You guys probably already know that. And of course, iMessage is used a lot for individuals that have hearing issues. You can change notifications. You guys know this, but you can change notifications on your phone, right? For a visual notification, right? So the flashlight flashing or vibrating on your phone, for those that have difficulty hearing. You can manage and change the audio information. So if somebody is using headphones with their phone, you can increase the sound that comes in one ear or decrease the sound that comes in another ear. You can really manage the sounds that are coming in. And there are actually hearing aids that are made for iPhone, and there's an app through iOS that people can manage their own hearing aids through iPhone or through iOS. And then from a physical motor perspective, here's some of the different features in iOS, that assistive touch. This is sometimes sort of fun to play with. You know, you can change a lot of actions triggered by different gestures into different types of touch actions. You can create custom gestures. And I think I told you guys about the little girl that I worked with who had the amputations, and where we finally got her access to an iPad with a stylus, but the gestures that she was using weren't sensitive enough, because she was using very big gross motor gestures and sort of hitting the iPad, harder than she should have, and it was very hard for her to use the iPad. So we went in and customized her tap, we customized her swipe, and it worked perfectly, and it was much easier for her to access through those gestures and use the iPad. If you have trouble using the home button, or if somebody has trouble pressing on the home button, you can activate it with this on screen. I used this one time with my daughter with her phone. Her home button broke, so we just pulled up this screen, and then it's just a touch gesture. So lots of different things that you can do. Again, like I said, iOS has a lot of really good accessibility features. You can use keyboard shortcuts, and these are things that are good for, sort of for everybody. So if you find phrases that you're using frequently or typing frequently, you can make a shortcut for it. So this example here is, like, let's say you use this phrase a lot, make use of. I don't know, it's a random phrase that they picked as the example. But, those three words, if you find you're typing them a lot in your work or in your academics on your phone, or when you're texting or emailing, you can make it a shortcut, and when you type MUO, it'll pull up make use of, or whatever phrase it is that you might be using. So this is really good for people that, for a physical reason, it's hard for them to maybe text too many, a lot of letters. And about predictive text, right? That's when it pulls, when you start texting or using your keyboard and you start hitting letters, it pulls up options of words for you. From a cognitive perspective, there is guided access. And so you can restrict access to the keyboard, you can restrict access to different apps, you can restrict access to the home button. So this would be, for an example, I think I told you guys my nephew, who is 15 now, has autism, and he's very much into technology. He has his own iPhone, he has his own iPad. However, there are things on there that he ends up sort of doing that, or texting, or things, on the web that he goes to, that my brother and sister-in-law want to restrict. So they have used guided access, and they've restricted, some of those things for him. And then there's speak screen. So if you pull up some text on the screen, it'll help read what's in the text for you. There's also Safari Reader. So you guys know when you pull up something on Safari and it has all kinds of visual information, like distracting information, such as ads or buttons, navigation bars. Like on this side, you can see all this stuff that sort of pulls up that has nothing to do with the web page, that's very visually distracting. If you use Safari Reader, you can reduce all those visual distractions, and this is what the sort of web page would look like with those things removed. Okay. I'll stop sharing for a second. Any questions or any insights? Does anybody use any of these features on their phone or their iPads themselves, or had any experience using anything, besides what we did in class? But does anybody use shortcuts? Do you use dictation for your text messages? Anything like that?
Just this week, I was helping a boy with CPU who is home for school, obviously, and his special ed teacher emailed him about how he has read write on his computer. So we were using that to help him create sentences on Google Docs, but also to read PDFs. So it's kind of both things.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Yeah. So I really just encourage you all. I mean, you have this software on your phone, on your iPhone, and on your iPad. If you have an Android or a Google, there's very similar features as well on your phones. And we did do a little bit exploring in class, but I would really encourage you to take some time and explore the accessibility features, because as you go forward working with clients, it's just good to know that information and have that information and say, oh, wait, you're having trouble accessing the keyboard to text here. I know that, we can download some keyboards. Oh, you're having trouble, seeing, when you pull up a web page on your phone, here's a way that you can decrease the visual clutter. So it's just good to know that information. And every time, iOS updates, there's usually something in the accessibility features that updates too. So any questions at this point about computer software accessibility? Okay, so the last parts of this lecture and this PowerPoint, and I'm glad that we're doing this one today, because it's, a lot of it's sort of review and things that you probably already have heard or already know, so it's not too much. So the last part of this is examples of different apps that are out there that are helpful for accessibility for technology. Now, as you know, technology is constantly changing and apps are constantly changing. These are just examples to provide to you, to give you ideas of what is out there. I don't expect you to know all of these apps. I will never ask you on an exam about a specific brand name of an app or anything like that. It's more of the idea of what types of apps are out there and what they can do, and how they can help people, right? So all the way, even very simply, there are color ID apps out there where you can use the camera on your iPhone or your iPad, and it will tell you the color of what it is that you're looking at, right? So if somebody has issues determining different colors. There's an app out there that will read money, right? So before apps like this, or before readers like this, individuals who were blind, it would be very difficult for somebody who is blind to really know the money denominations that they had. Coins are easier to tell because there are different tactile features, right? They're different sizes, and the quarter has, sort of those ridges on the side. But paper money, 20, 10s, 5s, and 1s, there isn't any different tactile features. Some people that have issues seeing, or people that are blind, the money that they do have, they might make different folds on it, so they know which is which when they're paying for something, but they didn't necessarily know what they were getting back. But now, luckily, with technology or apps out there, that there are money readers, so they can use, again, using the camera on your phone, and it'll read the bill that they have and tell them what money it is, so they can easily identify and count money that they have. Screen readers, right? So this can, again, you can use your camera to use a screen reader, and reads 5 different types of barcodes, right? And tells you what that item is. So if somebody, again, can't see the cans, for example, the food cans in their pantry, and they can't tell what it is, maybe they can use this to scan the barcode and find out what it is. You can also record audio labels to place on objects and later scan them through iOS. There's the emergency info that's available on phones, which is important. Here's an example for individuals with autism to help with interpreting emotions, understanding different facial expressions. There's social stories, right? Something like how to handle difficult situations. There's a sound amp app that increases the volume through earbuds. So if somebody does have hearing issues. There's sign language dictionary apps. This is very useful for somebody if you are working with somebody that uses ALS and you don't have access to an interpreter. This could be very helpful. Okay, I'm just going to quickly, again, those are all just examples of different apps and different things that are out there. The final slides on here talk a little bit about mounting and where things need to be. You can take a look at that. These are just, again, examples of ways that things are mounted. Rehadapt has different mounting solutions. They have these different arms that you can use in different ways, and they pivot and they move very easily as they go through things and where you're figuring out how to mount things. I did want to pull up this one final video very quickly to show you one other speech output that's called Talk It. And this is a really fantastic speech output where it learns somebody's speech that is very difficult to understand for other people, and then turns it into intelligible speech. So I'll just show you really quickly how that works. Let me just pull up the video and then I'll share it with you. There it is. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry, guys. There it is. The other Talk It one.
I just want to have a normal life.
Hello. A few years ago, my grandmother had a stroke, and the most frustrating and painful aspect for her was her inability to communicate. She couldn't express herself, how she was feeling, or what she was thinking. A fundamental part in her life was taken away from her. So we created Talk It, an innovative application that can run on any mobile or wearable device, giving people with speech disabilities their voice back.
I was 13. My father had a heart attack. And when I saw him, he wasn't the father I remember.
Voice It has come with a really unique solution for enabling people with speech impairment to bridge the gap between them and normal hearing people who could not understand them.
I love you.
Okay, I'm just going to stop it there in the interest of time, but you can certainly click on that link and finish watching that. So it's just, so that's a very different sort of speech output app. The ones that we looked at before that's on the computer, or Dragon Speech, you really have to have sort of clear speech to use those types of devices, or you are accessing it through like tactile touch, right? And you're picking like augmentative communication. So that's something very different, where somebody who has hard to understand speech, and that Talkit device or software can learn what their speech is and what they are saying, and then turn it into speech that's understandable for other people. So it's another really cool way for people to communicate. So any questions on anything that we talked about today at this point? Everybody good? Okay. Well, it was really fantastic to see you all today. I'm so glad that we have this technology that we can connect like this. Tuesday lab people, I will see you if you go to the lab Zoom link, and we'll meet there in about 10 minutes or so. And Thursday lab people, I'll see you on Thursday morning. Bye guys.